Hi, good morning, everyone. So my name is Parris, and I'll be talking to you about some of the themes and factors to consider when taking a trend and making it a reality, focusing on one of the key trends and challenges in the industry at the moment. But first of all, if you don't know who WARC are or what we do, WARC is a global authority on advertising and media effectiveness with the aim to help advertisers, ad agencies and media agencies rid the world of ineffective marketing. But first of all, if we kind of have a look at what the trend is. So looking at customer journeys, customer mapping and customer experience, the trend is kind of looking at everyone wants to be perfect and customer-centric, right? Everyone wants to be able to map out this perfect customer journey and pinpoint exactly when to market effectively to your consumers. But the reality of it is that it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of analysis of first-party and third-party data from social media scores to brand tracking to sales data to be able to put that all together in a real-life context to be able to be profitable. To be able to be profitable, to optimize your spend, and to be able to hopefully reduce customer dissatisfaction in the long run as well. I'm sure we all have great and not so great personal experiences of being a customer ourselves. So everything from as simple as buying tickets online. So earlier this year, me and my friends tried to buy tickets for Glastonbury. I'm sure many people did as well. And we were all faced with the grey page of doom, as we all called it. Didn't know what was happening, if the tickets had sold out, or if we were even in the queue at all. As opposed to trying to buy tickets for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, I knew exactly what was happening. I was in the queue, I knew how many people were in front of me, and how long I was most likely going to be in that queue for. Bearing in mind, I didn't get tickets for either of these, but I left one knowing exactly what was happening and feeling a little bit more assured that I was important in their customer journey and likely to try again for the next run of tickets. But don't just take my word for it. Every year at WARC, we run a report called the Toolkit. And that toolkit is put together by speaking with over 600 marketers, people like you, and asking them what their challenges or objectives are for the next year. So at the beginning of 2018, over half of brands cited the importance of customer experience. So we can kind of see that trend throughout the year. And then last month, we had a report with Moore Stevens, who released the MarTech report for 2019, who also cited that that's because brands need to be able to differentiate themselves against their competitors in an easy and effective way. And by using effective customer experience, that's a way to be able to do that really well for them. So what I'll do is just take you through a couple of really great brand examples who have utilized customer experience and have driven that in a profitable way for themselves. Oh, is it going to work? So the first one, looking at McDonald's. Obviously, McDonald's is a huge brand that we all know, but focusing specifically on the Spanish market, they were lacking a large amount of differentiation. Consumers were very prone to promotions, and no one was really, no one was loving one brand as opposed to others in the market as well. So what they did to try and focus on their customers in that journey is they looked at personalization by data. So they looked at that customer journey for each and every consumer and redesigned their app so that everyone who was downloading the app got personalized ads depending on what they liked. So if you liked a Big Mac without pickles, you got that. If you liked 6 chicken nuggets, you got that personalized advertising sent directly to you. So you knew exactly when those promotions were available at the nearest McDonald's available to you as well. And they run that through they called it 31 Crazy Days campaign. It's in Spanish, but I can't say it. And that was really effective for them. So every day you got a new promotion available only on that app. And that was very effective to getting people to download it, to buy more, and they achieved with that. They saw over 8% of their sales come exclusively from that loyalty app. And they saw, quite interestingly, about 20% people who downloaded the app and were buying via the app spent about 20% more than people who were going into store to buy the same products. So people were really reacting to the personalized experiences and the personalized promotions that they were receiving. And the business really benefited from it as well. In comparison to the market and the sales, McDonald's grew by about 1.3. And the amount of unique users who were going back to use the app month on month compared to last year increased by over 166%. So we can see that people weren't just downloading it once and turning it off. They were downloading it and using it time and time again to get those personalized promotions and their favorite McDonald's meal. And we can kind of see that the client was ecstatic with this. They were able to see that there was a real real value in this data-driven, strategic, personalized customer experience for each and every person. They were able to find a new way to interact with their consumers, and they were able to kind of bring it back home to their McDonald's like good moments mantra that they talk about. So it's going back to gaining back their core audience, talking to new people who maybe haven't utilized McDonald's as much as others, and really understanding when and where to promote exclusively to your customers. So that's just one great example. Another one. So back in 1997, I was barely alive, but there was one brand who was the UK's most trusted brand, and the public really loved them. Does anyone want to hazard a guess who it was? You can just shout out if you want to guess. Maybe, but no. It was Tesco. Tesco were loved. They were everywhere. They were in every city, every town across the UK. And the public really trusted them. I'm sure my mum really trusted them and loved them too. But if we fast forward about a decade later, they were in substantial decline. They were facing two major corporate scandals in about 2013, 2014. Their share price was tumbling. The customers and the public didn't trust them anymore. And they found themselves in this really difficult, undifferentiated middle ground, which was really difficult for them to work themselves out of. They were kind of losing the nation's trust. The customers couldn't trust them, obviously. They couldn't trust them, and they found it difficult to interact with that brand at every level. Their prices were skyrocketing, and there were barely any sales staff in the stores as well. Customers were still using Tesco, but they weren't choosing to use them. It was just because they were pretty much everywhere. So what could they do? They took a step back and looked at their brand purpose. They took a step back and looked at what their core values are. And they created this 5-point brand purpose plan, which everything they did revolved around. So everything from the way that their customer services standards were outlined, to what products they were offering to consumers, to how they interacted effectively with their suppliers. They were really trying to position themselves as a helpful shopping experience. So through an active campaign of digital, print and broadcast of alike, they were really positioning, as you can see here, the customers at the core of their brand. So showing them interacting with the brand, enjoying it, and just being genuine to the consumers. They were really trying to be better at kind of every single level. So they ran really quite cute TV campaigns that were compelling and used real people. So this one was toy testers, where they had little kids show parents which toys to choose for their children, which I'm sure can be quite difficult. And they were obviously really cute as well. And they supported their local communities as well. They had a store in nearly every town and city across the UK. But they wanted to make sure that they were positioning themselves and interacting with the communities that they were serving. So they worked with the local communities to reduce food waste, to develop local open spaces. And then when the government came out with the 5p levy, the plastic bag 5p levy, they ran with it and created their Bags of Help campaign. So they were really trying to interact with that consumer at every single level, not just going into store and buying a pint of milk, but when they're going into their community, seeing that Tesco really cared about them there as well. And every little did kind of help for them. They saw a reduction of 25% less people switching out of not using Tesco, and a 10% increase of people starting to use Tesco as well. It seemed that people were enjoying the brand and telling their friends and family to try it as well. And their revenue showed it too. Their UK transactions were up about 1.4%, and their like-for-like volume was up by 1.9% too. They were showing that by putting customers at the true core of their marketing and of their brand and what they stand for, they were able to positively impact their entire brand, not just this particular campaign and each campaign that was within it. They were able to propel the brand forward in the way that they wanted to go. And they carried on to be extremely successful. They were proven to be one of the UK's most improved retailers in terms of customer recommendations, which is obviously something that they were hoping to achieve with this. Their perception of quality increased from what consumers believed that they were getting from them as well. And then when it came to customers' belief of what they thought Tesco was given, if Tesco was giving them value, that increased by over 7 points too. So it was a story of less so of like just brand revitalization. It was a story of business revitalization with the brand and the consumer and that customer journey truly at the core of every single moment. So what does this really mean for you? What does it mean to push a trend into reality? Of course, it differs depending on what trend you're talking about. But when talking about customer experience, customer journeys, and personalization, it really does prove to be effective to have that purpose led from leadership. So at every single point of the business, not just in store, not just out of home, but in the core of what the business believes and what they're trying to achieve, that's a really intrinsic and helpful way to push that into a reality. And when we look at the customer journey, obviously everyone wants to map out this beautiful customer journey and exactly when to pinpoint and market effectively to consumers. And that differs obviously between industries, but a way to differentiate and delight a consumer is to look at your industry and look at where it might be regulated and you can't quite change it, but then look specifically at the areas which you can change, which you can do slightly differently to your competitors, that the consumer's not going to kind of expect to happen, and that would like delight them and hopefully have them come back for more. And through all of this, through different touch points, understanding the consumer, understanding the market as much as you can, hopefully you can put together this beautiful, cohesive, shopping, seamless experience for them. Well, that's the next slide is my face, but anyway. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll hand you back over to Rob.